Grateful to the hospitality of your rocking chair, man.
It's on there. Alright, here we go. Well, while we have the time, I figured I would share with you kind of the story. I remember Granddad asked me if I could put this in a video, because I don't think about the YouTube end of things as much as I need to learn how to. But he said it'd be helpful. These videos would be likely to get more traction and more people to be interested in them if they knew kind of the backstory on how I got into this and kind of who I am. So essentially, you know, I grew up like a regular middle-class American kid. You know, my mom took care of us, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do all the way until I was 19. And even then, thought I knew and didn't really know. So I ended up going to college with my buddies, and oh, the train's done. I guess to be continued. We'll pick back up. I get distracted when I'm talking to you guys because I'm trying to pay attention to things. We'll pick back up me in college, and I'll give you the story of how I ended up getting into heavy haul from, you know, being a regular confused college kid. So I'm not really sure if this footage is going to be any good, being that my windows are down. I'm having to look at my GPS, and you're sitting in a weird spot, so I don't even know if you can see me like I want you to see me. But I'll continue the story anyway, and Granddad can use it as voiceover for drive time footage or something. But essentially, I was in college. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'm out there being prideful, trying to, you know, I paid my way through school, and that got really challenging in the economy that I grew up in, because you either work 40 hours a week and try to maintain 12 or 15 hours, or you do the 15 to 18 hours of schoolwork and work a little less but be super broke and have to take out a bunch of loans. I chose the latter. I just took out a bunch of debt, and I did what I had to do to scrape by. I mean, I spent 2 years eating noodles and drinking beer. I mean, I can't imagine how much I've damaged my organs because of it, and I'm grateful that God's given me grace as far as letting me stay healthy. But yeah, it wasn't a good time for my health, and you know, I drifted away from the Lord for a while, and I did what college kids do. No need to get into details about that, but eventually I figured it out. I got back into church. I started making better money. I got done with school, thinking that I finished with a business degree after changing my major twice. I started off in engineering, well, mechanical engineering, switched over into chemical engineering, and then realized that engineering is no fun, and then moved over to business because I didn't like computers and programs and always looking at a screen. When I got into engineering, I thought I was going to be working with equipment. That's why I like this job. I thought I was going to be working with equipment, building stuff, and being a part of construction crews and getting to go see different stuff and put different things up. That wasn't what it was. The lion's share of engineering programs are just computer work, just AutoCAD and MATLAB and different kinds of computer programs. I enjoyed making things tick and understanding how stuff worked, but I did not enjoy trying to figure out how to deal with computer screens all day. So I switched to business school thinking, oh, well, I'm gonna get to go meet people and go sell stuff and go to big business meetings and be the fancy guy at expensive dinners and taking flights to different cities and countries. And maybe I could have done that if I'd stuck with it, but that's not at all what that entailed either. A lot of, you know, I was a marketing and sales degree. The lion's share of marketing is digital advertising on computers and you know, setting up commercials and setting up displays in stores and merchandising, stuff like that, which is all fine and dandy. It's a good job, we need it, cool, but it kind of felt unethical in a lot of the jobs I worked, because they would have you intentionally lie and intentionally frame things in ways that weren't true, and I just didn't feel comfortable with it. It was trying to manipulate people's emotions into buying products that they don't need so that you can make a buck, and that just didn't feel right. I mean, I tried equipment. I tried, not equipment like this kind of equipment, like, you know, it was battery powered hardware, so stuff like that. I tried oil field equipment. I've tried cutlery. I've tried insurance. I've tried brokering logistics. I've tried all kinds of sales jobs. I've tried oil field software. I mean, I've tried cars. If you can sell it, I've tried to sell it. And I just never felt right. It never felt like what I was called to do, and it always kind of felt icky. And I missed doing work. You know, I'd spent so long in college and you know, even before getting into those sales jobs after college, working, you know, general labor in construction sites and working in the iron fields in West Texas and doing scrap metal recycling and driving trucks and you know, working commercial landscape installation, just residential landscape maintenance, just doing all this blue collar stuff, and I liked it. It just didn't pay enough. And you know, after I got done with the sales journey, after my logistics job, that was the last sales job I had. I ended up going into where I worked at. Man, I did a lot of stuff. I worked for a moving company, driving a box truck. I liked that. It was cool. It just didn't pay very good, and the turnover was terrible. Management was awful. That's a whole nother story for another day. I can tell if you'd like to hear it. Tried to do, I worked for a honey plant. It was really cool. That was an awesome job. Working with raw honey and bottling honey and, you know, putting honey on pallets and sending it off. That was a cool job. It just didn't pay good at all. I was only making like $300 a week doing that. It's pretty rough. Ended up passing Exxon Road, Oil Field Road. Ended up after that going to Amazon to deliver packages, and I actually liked it because I don't know, it was just kind of fun. I mean, every day you meet up with all the other drivers, you'd have some breakfast, you'd, you know, kind of shoot the breeze with the other drivers, and then you'd go off and do your route, and you got paid 10 hours no matter what. And I was, you know, I'm much less athletic now than I was 3 years ago, but I was pretty athletic, man. I mean, I could run up and down driveways like it was nothing. I mean, I was finding efficient ways to load out packages, and I was getting done in 6-7 hours, getting paid for 10. It was pretty sweet. I realized too, as I stepped up, I went from the Sprinter vans to the step vans to the box trucks, and I realized, like, man, I actually kind of like driving. I liked all my sons when I was doing the moving vans. I liked doing metal hauls. When I did the scrap metal hauls on 40-foot goosenecks, I enjoyed that. It's like a hot shot setup. I liked it. I like driving landscaping equipment. When I worked for the landscaping company and I was the crew lead, so I got to drive the trucks. It was a 26-foot truck where we haul our skid steers and our mini excavators around. I liked it. It was cool. So I was like, okay, how can I, this is what led me into the trucking world. How can I scale this and find a way to do this but make more money than, you know, the 15 to 20 an hour I'm averaging doing it wherever else I'm doing it. So I was like, all right, let me start a trucking company. I know how box trucks work. I've done it for Amazon. Let me buy one, and let me just get on a dispatcher's list, get on a load board, get an Amazon contract, and just kind of see what shakes. I ended up buying a box truck. I took out a $38,000 loan. I bought a box truck for 16 grand. I put 2 grand into it. I ended up, you know, spending 2 or 3 grand on paperwork, getting my own DOT numbers filed up, getting that CSA paperwork done, getting blah, 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 getting all this stuff done. And then ended up paying off, using that loan to pay off some other debt, so that it was I kind of used it as a consolidation loan partially. Anyway, went into a bunch of debt, and ended up not having any money left over to get my insurance rolling, because I got a soft quote for the insurance before I got the truck, and before I got my DOT numbers, before I gave my license and anything. I should have got a hard quote, should have known exactly what I was going to be paying for insurance. Got a soft quote. They said it was going to be $1,700 a month. I said, all right, I could swing that based on doing the math, projecting what I was going to make and everything like that. And ended up, you know, buying the truck, getting the numbers filed, having it all good to go, and all I needed was insurance, and I was going to be rolling. I mean, I even had the Amazon contract set up, knew what I was going to be making and everything, and ended up going and getting my insurance. Insurance cost me almost $8,000 a month to set up. I used that truck for like a couple weeks, making moves for people, just moving stuff around for people in town, because I was so scared to actually get the insurance set up and everything. and pay another month. I gotta see where I'm turning here. Yeah, and ended up, you know, going out of business really before I even started, but I had everything legit. I mean, I was full on, knew how the paperwork worked, had contracts, couldn't afford to keep it rolling, so just gave up and figured I'll make more money and be less scared just going and working for somebody. So that led me to my next journey. I ended up working for PFG, Performance Food Group's a food hauler. They're you know, pretty notable food hauler. I think they're the second biggest fleet in the country behind Cisco. And I'm really blessed to have gotten that job. I was getting paid good money. And man, I worked there for almost 2 years, just shy of 2 years. And went over the road and saw the country, man. I mean, I saw everything, you know, from Tennessee and down all the way over to the West Coast. And I got to see it all. I got to drive every mountain road, every state highway, every cool experience you can have between the West Coast and the Mississippi River, basically. And just really got to cut my teeth in a truck. And it was an automatic, and it was you know, a Cadillac on wheels. I mean, it wasn't the kind of truck you think of when you start trucking, man. That thing was all comfort, no difficulty. All you had to do was know how to drive. And as far as the workload goes, it was pretty tough work because you had to unload the trailers by yourself. And I mean, you had to know how to work tight spaces in that truck too. That's one thing about that truck, is you had to know how to maneuver. You had to really know how to get around shopping centers, you know, in the middle of the day, figuring out how to drop off to a Red Lobster at noon in downtown Austin, dropping off to a Fleming's in downtown Houston in the middle of the day. I mean, that stuff will wear you out. And it definitely gave me the driving experience I needed to do equipment on job sites. So, you know, you fast forward almost 2 years, and God just had another direction plan for me, and I got kind of poached by my current boss. And he's a great guy. He's one of my buddy's dads. I really love the dude. He's a great employer. I mean, I have no complaints about this guy and his ethics and the way he runs a business. I really respect him, and I really love working for him. And I'm not bragging either. I'm not brown-nosing or trying to kiss butt either, because I'm sure he'll probably watch this, and hopefully it makes him proud and I ain't brown-nosing him. But yeah, so anyway, I come over here, and I know how to drive a truck. I've driven 2 years incident-free. More than that, really. I mean, I've driven trucks for 3-4 years at this point, incident-free. Never had a problem. I know how to drive. You know what I mean? And I know how to drive, and I know how to operate a manual too. I just didn't know how to float, because my box truck was a stick. I operated that box truck for like a month and a half. Drove it for several hours around the DFW area, several hour radius, and you know, I can double clutch, but I was brand new to float, and I had to learn how to float for my boss to be happy with me and his Peterbilt. So he taught me how to float, and I got decent at it, but I'm still in an automatic right now. I'm in that Volvo that y'all saw a couple videos back, and I really enjoy it. But that was really all that was new for me, was learning how to float, learning how to manage equipment, learning how to secure a load, having an open trailer like this. You know, when I worked for the hotshot setup in West Texas doing that metal recycling, it was one of those truck with big pipe stacks, so I didn't have to worry as much about properly securing all the iron bars and you know, tin plates and stuff that I was hauling, because it was all secured by those huge pipe stacks. So all I had to do was throw some straps over it and, you know, make sure I had some dunnage, and I was fine. I didn't have to worry about load securement in that trailer. But this here, you gotta really make sure you're properly chaining and strapping and you know, using corner and edge protectors and stuff like that. You gotta know what you're doing, and it can be challenging. So that was new, but I'm doing a great job, I believe. I'm actually gonna stop right now. I see a chain kind of bouncing and wiggling a little bit, and I'm not comfortable with that. I only got 3.5 miles left, but a lot can happen in 3.5 miles. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop and check the securement. But that's basically the story of how I got into this. I know I kind of probably missed some details, and I'll cover some more stuff as I'm reminded of it. but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. It's nice to be able to do this too, because you make a good amount of money. And I've kind of always struggled. My entire adult life, I've always struggled. And, you know, even as a kid, my mom did the best she could. Come on by. Come on by. My mom did the best she could, and she took care of me, man. I mean, anything I needed, she had it. But as far as anything I wanted, I had to go get it. And that's good. I'm grateful for that. It built character, and it got me to where I'm at. It gave me the kind of work ethic I need to do this job. But nah, it's tight. That's the one that's loose. That one stayed tight. This one wiggled free somehow. Let me see what's going on. This is the one. I'm not sure what happened here. This binder's starting to get wonky on me too. I've noticed that. It's not as tight as I want it. Better. These are all still, those are all still super tight, so we're good there. But yeah, it's nice to be able to kind of pay all my bills and get ahead of all that debt I created for myself. And be able to kind of get ahead of all that, mess, you know? Feels good. Put myself in position to have a better life. And I don't have any kids yet. I'm not married yet. So to put myself in a position to be a better protector and provider for my children. That's why I work the way I do. This job is not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of grit and a lot of muscle to you know, be able to get up and work the way I do, because you know, I work 12 to 16 hours every single day except for Saturday and Sunday. Saturday I still pull the overtime when I can, and it takes a lot of gravel in your gut. I've learned that this takes more grit than getting through college or, you know, anything else I've had to endure. It's a tough job, but it's the first job I've ever had where I feel fulfilled. I feel like I'm doing what God wants me to do. Like I'm not lost and wandering around looking for a purpose anymore. I feel like this is where God wants me, and this is what God wants me to be doing. And I don't know what his reasoning for that is. Maybe he knows that, you know, I've got a lady that can handle it. Maybe he knows that if someone else were in this seat, that something bad would happen, or somebody important that needs to live would die. You know, you never know what God's reasoning is for things, but I do believe that he knows what he's doing. So, and that's why I feel fulfilled. He's granted me a peace, because now I'm where he meant for me to be. And I had to feel uneasy about everything else I've done in order to get here, because if I had felt at peace before, I wouldn't have